Have you ever opened your bank account at the end of a totally normal month and just stared at the number like it personally offended you? You didn't go on a crazy shopping spree. You didn't book a last-minute trip to Cabo. You didn't buy anything wild. It was just the usual stuff: groceries, maybe a couple drive-through lunches because you were tired, a few Amazon orders you barely remember, the random Target run that somehow always costs more than you planned, and yet somehow the money's gone. Again. What nobody tells you is that you don't have to make huge financial mistakes to end up broke in America. Tiny, normal, everyday choices can drain your wallet faster than any big purchase ever could. And the wild part? Most of us don't even realize it's happening. We're living inside a spending system that feels normal, but it's quietly eating our paycheck alive. So if you've ever wondered, how am I making decent money and still feeling broke, you're not crazy. You're not alone. And you're definitely not bad with money. You're just stuck in habits that millions of Americans fall into without noticing. Because the real danger isn't the money you spend intentionally. It's the money that disappears when you're not paying attention. And once you see where it's actually going, you can't unsee it. The crazy thing is, none of this feels unusual anymore. Prices have climbed so slowly and so quietly that we've all just adapted without thinking. A meal that used to cost $7 is suddenly $15, and everyone shrugs like that's just life now. Housing, groceries, gas, streaming, every category has crept up, inch by inch, until normal spending in America is anything but normal. And because everyone around us is doing the same thing, it doesn't feel like overspending. It feels like survival. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of what we call the cost of living is really just the cost of habits we stopped questioning. We don't ask why anymore. We don't push back. We just tap, swipe, and keep moving. And that's exactly how money slips away, not in big dramatic moments, but in hundreds of tiny decisions that feel harmless. The more normal it feels, the more dangerous it is. Because once your brain labels something as normal, it stops checking the price altogether. And that's when your budget starts bleeding without you even noticing. Let's talk about the sneakiest money trap in America: convenience. On paper, grabbing fast food or ordering takeout feels harmless. You're tired, you're busy, you don't feel like cooking, and honestly, who does after a long day? But convenience isn't cheap anymore. That quick stop at a drive-thru that used to be $5 or $6 is now $12, $15. Sometimes close to $20 for a meal that comes in a paper bag. Fast food was supposed to be the affordable option. Now it's basically a casual restaurant price without the plates, the service, or the dignity. And the worst part? We don't question it. We just tap the card, grab the bag, and move on. Because in the moment, saving time feels more valuable than saving money. Multiply that by 3 or 4 times a week, and suddenly you're spending hundreds of dollars a month not on good food, not on social experiences, but on convenience masquerading as necessity. And it's not just takeout. Coffee runs, delivery fees, quick snacks, energy drinks, every small moment of, I'll just grab something real quick, adds up. Convenience culture trains us to trade money for comfort without even noticing we're doing it. The psychology is simple. When you're stressed, tired, or rushed, your brain prioritizes relief, not logic. So you convince yourself it's just a few dollars, even though those few dollars quietly turn into one of the biggest overspending categories in most American budgets. And here's the kicker. You're not paying for better food, you're paying for the 5 minutes you didn't want to spend chopping onions. Convenience isn't evil, but if you're not paying attention, it'll drain your wallet faster than anything else you buy. Somewhere along the way, looking successful became more important than actually being successful. And nothing proves that better than the way Americans spend money on clothes, shoes, and anything with a recognizable logo. You can walk into a store and buy a perfectly good t-shirt for $10. Or you can walk 3 feet to the left and grab the same t-shirt with a designer logo for $200. Same cotton, same stitching, same factory most of the time. The only real difference is the story you think that logo tells about you. And that story is expensive. We convince ourselves we're buying quality, But let's be honest, most of the time, we're buying validation. We want to feel a little more put together, a little more admired, a little more, I've got my life handled. But when you strip away the branding, the psychology is simple. We're terrified of looking like we're falling behind. That's why people put luxury sneakers, handbags, and outfits on credit cards. Not because they need them, but because they need what they represent. Status spending is one of the fastest ways to look rich while staying broke. The irony? Most people don't even notice what you're wearing. They're too busy worrying about their own lives to analyze your outfit. And the ones who do notice aren't paying your bills. So why are we letting strangers and social media trends decide how much we spend? Image spending feels harmless in the moment, a small boost of confidence, a little dopamine hit, but collectively, it becomes one of the biggest holes in a personal budget. You're not just buying clothes. You're buying an identity that evaporates the moment the bill is due. And the craziest part? That identity isn't even real. It's rented, at 29% APR. Now let's get into the stuff that doesn't just nibble at your wallet, it takes a massive bite. Buying a brand new car is probably the clearest example. Americans love the idea of a shiny new ride. The smell, the feeling, the status. But the moment you drive that car off the lot, it loses about 20% of its value instantly. You haven't even merged onto the highway and you're already thousands of dollars down. And because most people finance their cars, you're not just paying for something that's dropping in value, you're paying interest on it too. It's the financial equivalent of running on a treadmill. A lot of effort, no actual progress. The same logic applies to expensive furniture, premium appliances, trendy home decor, the things people convince themselves they deserve because they work hard. And sure, you do deserve comfort, but comfort doesn't require a $3,000 couch on a payment plan or a $600 blender you use twice. The truth is, retailers know exactly how to sell the illusion of investing in your home or building a lifestyle, when really, it's just a pretty phrase for debt. I've watched people furnish an entire apartment on credit monthly payments for a living room set that won't last half as long as the debt will. Big-ticket items feel responsible because they look long-term, but financially, they can lock you into years of paying for things that are worth less every single day. And here's where it gets dangerous. The bigger the purchase, the easier it is to justify. Because once you're already spending thousands, what's another few hundred? And that's how people end up trapped. Not by one bad decision, but by a chain of might-as-well moments. If the big-ticket purchases punch you in the face, the small ones pick your pocket while you're not looking. Subscriptions are the perfect example. $10 here, $15 there, Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, Apple TV. Each one feels harmless on its own. But stacked together, they quietly drain $60, $80, sometimes over $100 every month. That's more than $1,000 a year for shows you probably aren't even watching. And it doesn't stop with streaming. Gym memberships you swore you'd use, weekly apps that bill you automatically, cloud storage, music services, free trials you forgot to cancel. All of them nibble at your paycheck without ever feeling like real spending. The psychology is simple. Your brain doesn't register small recurring charges as a loss, so they slip through unnoticed. But in reality, these microtransactions are one of the biggest sources of financial leakage in American households. The same goes for little daily habits: $7 coffees, $4 bottled water, $12 delivery fees. None of it feels dramatic, none of it feels wrong, and that's exactly why it's so dangerous. It's not the big decisions that break your budget, it's the dozens of tiny ones you never think about. And once those tiny leaks start piling up, your bank account never stands a chance. One of the strangest spending habits we've normalized is upgrading stuff that still works perfectly fine. A new iPhone drops, and suddenly thousands of people are camping outside Apple stores like their current phone just burst into flames. And it's not just phones, laptops, tablets, smartwatches, game consoles. The tech industry has mastered the art of making you feel outdated the second a newer version exists. But here's the truth no one likes to admit. Most of us aren't upgrading for performance. We're upgrading for ego. The apps we use haven't changed, our needs haven't changed, our daily habits haven't changed. But the desire to keep up convinces us to drop $1,000 every year or two on something that adds almost nothing meaningful to our lives. It's the illusion of progress, the feeling that if our gadgets are newer, somehow we are newer too. But financially, it's one of the easiest ways to fall behind. Holding onto your tech for 4 or 5 years instead of 2 could save you thousands. And the wildest part? The old device didn't stop working, we just stopped appreciating it. The upgrade loop isn't a need, it's a habit. And habits are expensive. When you stack all these habits together, takeout, convenience spending, designer logos, new cars, subscriptions, upgrades, you start to see a pattern. None of them look dangerous on their own. None of them feel like a financial emergency. But collectively, they create a slow, steady drain that wipes out hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars a month while you barely notice it happening. You're not broke because you're irresponsible. You're broke because your money is disappearing in ways that feel normal. And that's the scariest part. Normal isn't safe anymore. Normal is expensive. Normal is what keeps people stuck, earning more but never feeling richer. Once you finally see how all these tiny leaks connect, you can't unsee it. And when you realize how much you're actually losing, that's the moment everything clicks. That's the moment people finally take their money back. Here's the part nobody wants to hear but everybody needs. Fixing your finances doesn't require a 6-figure salary, a second job, or some complicated spreadsheet. It just takes awareness and a few small moves done consistently. So let's break this down into something simple, 5 steps that actually work in real life, even if you've tried budgeting 100 times and hated every second of it. First, do a 30-day spending audit. Write down every dollar. You'll be shocked at how much of your paycheck disappears on stuff you didn't even enjoy. Second, cut the automatic leaks. Subscriptions you don't use. Memberships you forgot about. Apps quietly billing you, cancel them. 10 minutes of cleanup can save you hundreds. Third, give yourself a 48-hour rule before buying anything over $50. Most impulse wants die fast when they don't get instant gratification. Fourth, hold on to your tech and big purchases longer than you think you need to. If it still works, keep it. There's no prize for having the newest version of everything. And fifth, cook at home just a little more. Not every meal, just a few more a week. That single habit alone can give you back hundreds of dollars every month. None of these steps are extreme. None of them require you to live like a monk. They just force your money to work for you instead of escaping through habits you never meant to build. And once you start seeing the extra cash stay in your account, something shifts. You realize you're not powerless, you just needed a system that actually respects your real life. At the end of the day, this isn't about cutting everything fun out of your life. It's not about shame or guilt or pretending you don't care about nice things. It's about choosing the stuff that actually matters and letting go of the rest. You don't need to look rich for the internet. You need to feel free in your real life. You need savings that calm you down, not purchases that stress you out. You need habits that make your future easier, not decisions that lock you into another year of payments. And the truth is, you're a lot closer to that kind of freedom than you think. Because the moment you stop trying to impress people who don't even notice you, you finally start building a life that makes sense for you.